Hello everyone, welcome to the show, the focus line of Spardha line. In today's focus line, we are going to discuss the important article that are really very important from the perspective of GS2 and the GS3. So in GS2, we are going to discuss the article which is about the revolt happened in Malabar region. That is about the Mopila revolt. Then in second article, we are already discussing this article from many days. So this article is about judicial nudge that stuck the legislative process business. So it's about the presidential reference in the Tamil Nadu government versus Tamil Nadu governor case. Second, we are going to discuss the third article. The third article we are going to discuss is about the out-of-pocket expenditure. So what are the issues related to this? What are there is a data tracing allegation happened on the government. So these are all things we are going to discuss. And then in last article we are going to discuss the India and Iran relation in detail. So we are going to discuss the historical underpinning, the importance of the relations and the way forward here. So let's start our discussion with the first article. We'll discuss this article which talking about the Mopala or Mopila revolt. So this particular revolt happened in 1921, and the background of this revolt was the economical reasons primarily. So if you are aware about the last year government has removed this Mopila revolt from the list of the national revolt the national events that led to the independence. So because this particular revolt had the communal undertone, but over that there had some economical reasons like insecure tenancy was there, then about their high rents. Okay, then again there was the conflict between landlords and tenants. So again the second reason was the political and ideological. So when it comes to the political reason, so it was the about the Muslim and Hindu cooperation. Okay, so and this said by the non-cooperation movement that launched by the Mahatma Gandhi ji during this time, and it was the ideological reason about the because this all reasons cooperated with each other or they united for the Khilafat movement. Okay, so these were the political ideological reason, and also there was the leadership figure called Ali Mushalir. So this particular person emerged as a spiritual and political figure. So he combined the religious stature with the anti-colonial leadership. So this was the important, but again it got the communal undertone. Okay, so from that view, the government has removed this particular revolt from the list of the national freedom movements. So, but we need to see that there is case study where we see the diversity of India's freedom movement. Okay, there are the regional movement, but also there was a national integration. Okay, so this was the all about I wanted to discuss about this particular article. Next article is about the judicial nudge. Okay, the following the stuck legislative business. So this particular article is dealing about we are dealing discussing this article from the last few days where we are seeing the development happened after the case called Tamil Nadu government versus Tamil Nadu governor. So following development after this particular case, there are again the various development. So if you see this particular article talking about how the Supreme Court's ruling that fixed the pragmatic time limit for the governors to act on bills that are aimed at preventing constitutional paralysis. Okay, so it's talking about the delayed assent, and therefore it is how this is particular judgment of Supreme Court reinforcing democratic executive functioning, and but also same time it is raising the question of the separation of power and the prescribed time limit. So when it comes to the background of this particular article, you all are aware of what there is an article called Article 200. So it's about the governor's assent to the bill passed by state legislature. So when the government present the bill to governor, he has four options actually. He can give his assent, he can withhold his assent, okay, or he can withhold assent for the long period, or he can refer the bill to the president or reserve the bill for presidential consideration, okay. And there was the similar section in Government of India Act also. So this is taken from the Government of India Act. So these are the options that governor will have once the bill presented to him. But what are the problems will happen? The problems are governors will be sitting on bill for years, okay, and it will cause the legislative logjams. So there will probability of political misuse of this particular act if there is a government belongs to different party, okay. So this is the one issue involved in this particular aspect. So what are the arguments given by the author in this particular case? So that we are seeing going to see in detail. So the first argument given by the author is the judicial intervention. So the Supreme Court has reiterated that governors, they need to act on aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, okay, and there should not be exercised their independent discretion to stall the legislation. So this is the constitutional argument that Supreme Court upheld in this particular judgment. Also, it is fixed time limit, okay. It is suggested timeline of 3 months, and within which the governor should act, and not to rewrite the constitution but to make the process functional. So this is the judgment given by the Supreme Court. It is not aimed to rewrite constitution, but it wants to make the process functional by giving the time limit. And there are some legal precedent. So certain case laws are there which are talking about the same. First is the Shamsher Singh case versus State of Punjab. Second is Nabam Rebia case. Okay. So these two particular cases, in these cases, Supreme Court has told that the governor discretion is limited. Okay. Discretion of governor is limited. And what he need to do? He need to follow the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Chief Minister. Also in Sarkaria Commission, it also said that governor's role is largely ceremonial. Okay, he should not become political actor. So this is the one more important argument given, or the provision was in Sarkaria Commission. Also, if we see the rationale behind this particular the time limit given by the Supreme Court to the governor or president, the rationale is there. It will prolong the governor's inaction. Okay, what will do? It will undermine the legislature and citizens' right, and also it will smoothen the constitutional functioning. Okay, so it is meant to give the rights to legislature and also the smoothen the constitutional functioning. So these are the two aspects involved here. Also, if you see the wider point, the Article 335 and Article 356, which are about the president rule in state, and this particular president rule imposed after recommendation of or the report sent by the governor to the president. So these articles could be invoked in extreme cases, but the judicial time bound guideline is pragmatic. Okay, so there will be these wider areas like where this article will be involving when it there would be some cases where the president rule becomes like it becomes visible, or president has to impose the rule, but it need to wait for it need to give certain timeline. Okay, but also there are some constitutional concern involved in this particular case. Okay, what are the constitutional concern? Because it will lead to judicial overreach into executive domain. So if the governor, if constitution only, if you want to give the certain timeline for governor, then there is need to bring the Constitutional Amendment Act. But what Supreme Court done? It has done on its own, that it has encroached into executive domain. Also, there is the political angle. So what if the governor genuinely needs more time for consultation? or need to check constitutionality. Okay, the remedy should preserve the check without enabling misuse. So this is the one more aspect involved it here for the political angle. Okay, so there is need to be certain cases where the governor should be bound by this time limit, but not in all cases. So there will be some genuine cases where governor need to wait for some time. Okay, so this is about this particular article that author is discussing. Next article is about the uh, out of pocket expenditure. Okay, so this is the very brief article that has came in the Hindu. It has given the data as well as it has highlighted some of the flaws in the particular this out of pocket expenditure measurement system itself. So when it comes to the out of pocket expenditure, so through the definition, what you consider, it is the direct payment and the made by the household for the health care at the time of service use. Okay, so it is the direct payment made by the household. So it is the private expenditure. So where they will spend the money on consultation, the medicines, the hospital bills, diagnosis. So here they will do the private expenditure, and that accounts in the this out of pocket expenditure. Okay, so if you see the global benchmark on out of pocket expenditure, the WHO, that is World Health Organization, it suggests the out of pocket expenditure should not exceed 15 to 20% of total health expenditure, and India's level has historically been much higher. Niti Aayog says it is about the 49%. It is data given by the Niti Aayog. And the particular this article that the data referred in this particular case, okay, it is the far more. It is about the 39%. And this is given by the National Health Account, and it uses the NSS's data. So there is the data discrepancy when it comes to the recognized data. So this is the one concern raised by under this particular article by the author. Okay, so now when it comes to the out of pocket expenditure, if you see the carefully what constitutes out of pocket expenditure. So when it comes to the out of pocket expenditure, it has certain obligation. Okay, so what happens if there is a high out of pocket expenditure? What will happen? The family or the household, it will goes into poverty, because they will spend major amount of their income on this healthcare service, and it will lead to the poverty. So there is a data also that Lancet data. Okay, the report came. So this particular report says that in India there is about 17.3% people, and these people were pushed to poverty in 2020, so during time of COVID, and this is because of the high expenditure on out of pocket expenditure on healthcare. So this is the data that shows that how the high out of pocket expenditure pushes the poor people into poverty. Also this out of pocket expenditure, it is critical indicator. Okay, it is indicator because it shows the access to healthcare. So if there is high out of pocket expenditure, then you can conclude that there is the healthcare system is inaccessible. Second, it talks about the financial protection. So what financial protection government gives to the people? So this is the one more aspect involves here. Okay, third aspect involves, it talks about the equity. Because we are going to discuss in later part, we can see there is a difference when it comes to the out of pocket expenditure. There is the difference, there is disproportionate burden on the rural people compared to urban people. Also age wise, there is difference when it comes to the out of pocket expenditure. So it is about it indicates the equities, whether society is equal or not. Okay, so this is the general data or the general argument given. So what exactly this particular article is saying? Okay, it is talking about the decline in out of pocket expenditure, and this decline is only in official data, the National Health Office, this particular data that are given by the government. So this shows that there is decline. Okay, and this decline is about the 39.4% in 21-22, and compared to 2013-14 it was the 64.2. So there is the nearly 50% drop. But when it comes to this data, if you see this particular aspect, the decline, it is led by the positive policy outcome according to government. What are the policies are there? First is Ayushman Bharat. Okay, so second is the pre-medicines and diagnosis programs that run by the government. Third is expansion of government healthcare expenditure. So these are the three major policies. Okay, Ayushman Bharat, pre-medicine diagnosis program, and expansion of government health expenditure. So these are the three programs which led to this decline. But the author's caution is there. These numbers may be misleading because they rely heavily on the one data source, that is NSS household consumption expenditure. And there is the problem when you compare this data with other data. So there are the other surveys, okay, CMIE surveys there. This particular survey says that out of pocket expenditure is rising. So in 2016-17 it was the 106 rupees. Now it is increased to 108 rupees in 22-23. So there is also data discrepancy. So there is the allegation of the data risking. Also there is again the when it comes to the this out of pocket expenditure, there is a rural urban and age related disparity. Okay, because the rural household, they spend higher share, whatever their income is there, out of that income they spend higher share on this data, this healthcare system, okay, compared to their urban counterpart. Second, the elderly population. Okay, the longitudinal aging study, the particular study is there, longitudinal aging studies. So this study shows that there higher out of pocket expenditure for the senior citizen, and this is because of the chronic illness, the hospitalization, and lack of insurance. So these are the one highlight shown in this particular article. Also there is problem of health inflation. So this is also increasing the out of pocket expenditure, health inflation, because particularly in drug price, hospital charges. Okay, and also this burdening the vulnerable groups such as women, children, lower class caste people. Okay, so these are the when it comes to the discrepancy. Also this particular article talks about the COVID-19 led distortion, because there was the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, it created unusual pattern of out of pocket expenditure. Because this pattern, because of the COVID-19, there was the higher expenditure on the hospitalization, okay, on oxygen, the medicine during this particular time, COVID-19 time. Also there were government scheme, the government scheme where government gave the free vaccine insurance scheme, but it was only temporarily reduce the private spending. So here they have spent more, the hospitalization, oxygen, and medicine, and this ultimately increased the out of pocket expenditure of people. But this short term decline also masks the long term structural burden. So this is the one argument done by the author. Next is about the hidden parameters. It talks about the hidden parameter, because the out of pocket expenditure, this out of pocket expenditure, it does not account the insurance premium that paid by the household. Okay, if there is increase in price of this insurance premium, then it is will not be counted in out of pocket expenditure. So there is again the hidden parameters. Second is indirect cost. Okay, the cost of wages, the travel, the borrowing for treatment. So this will these are the hidden burden on the mostly the poor people, because if you see the data, the hospital, the health infrastructure, 66% of our secondary and tertiary infrastructure, this is concentrated in urban region. So the rural people, they need to travel to the urban region. So while this travel travel, this will increase the burden on the particular rural people as well as the poor. So this is not counted in out of pocket expenditure. Also, it neglects the catastrophic health expenditure. So what is catastrophic health expenditure? Catastrophic health expenditure is a expenditure where household income, okay, the total income of household more than 10%. When the household spend more than 10% on the health, then it considered a catastrophic health expenditure. And for India, it is 17%. 17% household in India, they faces this catastrophic health expenditure according to World Bank. And these three most crucial aspects, they will not be counted in the out-of-pocket expenditure. So this is one concern raised by the author. And also if we compare it with other countries, okay, global comparison, then you will observe there is the India has the disproportionate burden, because if you see compared to China's out-of-pocket expenditure is around the 36%. When you compare to other Southeast Asian country, particularly Thailand is very less. It's only 12%. And when it comes to the India, if you considering Niti Aayog data, then it is around the 49%. So this is the we compare with the global, and this is because of our low spending on healthcare. And also there is ethical dimension involved in this particular aspect, out of pocket expenditure. Okay. What are the ethical dimension? First is the justice and equity. The high out of pocket expenditure, it violates the principle of distributive justice and fairness, because the household with less income or household with the poor household, they will bear the disproportionate burden on the high out of pocket expenditure, okay, compared to the urban region people or the rich people, middle class people as well. Second is about the state's responsibility. Under Article 47, state is obliged to improve the public health, and if there is high out of pocket expenditure, then we can say that state is not adhering to its responsibility. Second, there is problem of trust deficit, because if government shows there is decline in out of pocket expenditure, but still citizen face the high cost, then there is a risk of credibility loss. So what time we are calling about data racing. So the data racing will lead to create the trust deficit among the people. So this is one more aspect involved here. Okay. So next about the way forward, what can be done here considering this aspect. So when it comes to the way forward, first need to be data triangulation. Okay. So why data triangulation means? Data triangulation means need to use multiple source to increase the validity and credibility of data. So there are the n number of data where we collect. The NSS service there, CMI is there, NFS, HS is there, insurance data is there. We need to use this multiple source, so we'll get the reliable estimates. Also need to expand the public spending. So it need to increase 2.5% of GDP. So this is a recommendation of the major global organization including UN. Also our national health policy 2017, it also kept the target of 2.5%. Okay. Second, next we need to strengthen the primary healthcare infrastructure. We need to focus on preventive and outpatient care to reduce hospitalization cost, so the burden on the rural people that can be reduced. Next, we need to regulate the private healthcare. So they need cap on the drug and treatment prices. Need to enforce the Clinical Establishment Act, which gives these particular provisions. So this way we can reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure. Next, need to expand the financial protection. Okay, need to strengthen the Ayushman Bharat. Okay, so the more number of people should be covered. Also need to cover OPD care and medicines under the government scheme. So there would be the cost of the drug can be reduced. Also they need to address the elderly health need, because we are seeing that in demography wise the elderly population bears a high burden. So the need of long-term care and insurance for the chronic diseases. So this is the one aspect we can focus on. So this is the way forward. You can apply it for the how to improve our healthcare system as well as to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure. Okay. So next we will move towards the next article, which is about the Iran. How the Iran this the context is the different for this article. It is talking about the recent the US bombing on the nuclear sites of Iran that poured off in June 2025, and subsequently E3 countries. So E3 means some three countries in European Union, the Britain, France, and Germany. So these E3, the countries, three countries in European Union, they know the snapback clause of the 2015 JCPOA to restore the sanction. Okay. So now what is the snapback clause? It is the mechanism to restore UN sanction for the JCPOA violation, and it is the politically explosive because it will give the power to some countries to invoke the or the revive the UN sanctions. Okay, and there is the International Atomic Energy Agency. This UN mandated organization will be technical verifier for this purpose, whether the country is only in the nuclear testing or not. Okay, and this article is talking about how this objective verification must shape the global response to Iran's nuclear activity, and they need to rushing to punitive pushback without the assured backed risk of miscalculation and escalation. Okay, how there is the without assured back, this punitive snackback mechanism, invoking punitive snackback mechanism, it will lead to miscalculation and the escalation. So this author is concerned about this aspect. But while considering this report, we'll go and see the India and Iran relations. Okay, what are the key relations? What is the historical development? Okay, so and also the importance of Iran for India particularly. So when it comes to the India and Iran relation, so important thing is how our relation developed historically. We all are aware, we studied in history from ancient time. We have the relation with Iran. Okay, during the medieval time also, it is called millennia of trade. The cultural exchange was there, particularly Indo-Persian, because the many of the art architecture in India is influenced by the Persian. The language also, the Persian was a court language of the medieval India during the period of Mughals. So there was a long-standing cultural tie, and this tie after the independence, the India's independence from British, the diplomatic tie was strengthened because the both were had the same stance. They were followed the non-aligned policy for the decades. But in 1979, the Iranian Revolution happened under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini. So that time there was the Iran started become fundamental. It started moving toward fundamentalism. So this fundamental shift, there was fundamental shift in Iran's polity, but India still maintained tie. Okay, but internal policy of Iran, that was the change for the other countries. So that was the aspect. Then in 1990s, 2000s, the pragmatic engagement, India continued its pragmatic engagement with Iran. Okay, but there was a sanction on the Iran due to its nuclear program, but our cooperation in energy and trade continued. Okay, during this period also. In early 2010, so the strategic convergence between India and Iran started for the Afghanistan and connectivity projects mostly. Okay, so India began investing in Chabar port project. So it wanted to bypass the Pakistan and connect Afghanistan as well as Central Asia. And this materialized in 2016 when the India, Iran and Afghanistan, they signed the agreement to operationalize this Chabar transit hub for the Afghanistan. So India will connect the Afghanistan through the Chabar port. Then in 2019-20, there was again the strained relation between the US and Iran concerning its nuclear program. The US withdrawn from the JCPOA, so it was this particular aspect that reduced or they removed sanction on Iran. But when they USA withdrawal under Donald Trump, when USA withdrawal from this program, then they reimpose the sanction on Iran, and that time we forced to stop buying the cheap oil from the Iran. Okay, so this was there was due to considering the US polity drift our relation were started deteriorating. So, but in post 2020, what happened? India started pursuing calibrated relation. Okay, how it started calibrated relations? It continued a Chabar work. It limited energy purchase via payment mechanism, diplomatic balancing between the US, Israel, and Iran. So this is about the development till now. Now we need to see why the Iran is important for India for the different perspective. First is about the geostrategical perspective. So when it comes to geostrategical perspective, Iran is important because of the it is gateway to Asia and Central Asia. Because if you see Iran's geography, the geography places it across the key maritime and overland route and access to Persian Gulf as well as Gulf of Oman and the land bridge to Central Asia. Okay, so that makes the Iran gateway to West Asia as well as Central Asia. Also the connectivity to the north, the India strategy, connectivity to the north, it can be materialized through the Iran because of the Chawar port. So India's strategic asset to reach the Afghanistan Central Asia by bypassing Pakistan, that can be materialized through the Chawar port and with the help of Iran. Then when it comes to maritime security and energy transit, the stability in Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf affects the India's import and the shipping lane. So from that perspective, Iran is major partner because if you see the 50% of your energy, more than 50% comes from the Persian Gulf. From that perspective, the Iran's location, crucial location or strategic location in Persian Gulf, it makes Iran a strategic partner here. Again, there is maintaining buffer and influence in Afghanistan and Persian Gulf politics because Iran's role in Afghanistan, the Shia non-Shia linkage is there. Its influence in Persian Gulf and ties with the non-state actors make it regional power that India must engage with to protect its interest. So from that strategic perspective, these are the major drivers. Again, when it comes to geopolitical, from geopolitical perspective, our relations are important because of the it helps in balancing the great power dynamic. Because if we see Iran is courted by the US, Russia, and China. Now the India's constructive engagement provides it leverage and the diplomatic space in complex regional matrix. So to balance between the Russia, US, and China, Iran is crucial because all are courting Iran. Then again, second is countering the Pakistan regional footprint. So Indian activity in Iran, particularly in Chabad through the Chabad port, it provides alternative route and that counter the Islamabad's or the Pakistan's use of territory to influence the Afghanistan. So this is one major aspect in us. Also, it helps us in multipolar engagement. So India's independent foreign policy, it gained credibility by engaging Iran, even while maintaining ties with US as well as the Russia, and this is important for the India's strategic autonomy. So from that, these are the drivers for the geopolitical importance. Then when it comes to diplomacy, there are some diplomatic importance because it provides platform for the regional diplomacy. Iran is central to the Afghan stability, also the Gulf security of Persian Gulf, energy diplomacy, and engaging with Iran, it helps India to shape the outcome in these arenas. So from that perspective, Iran is important. Second is mediatory potential because India historically neutral profile gives it credibility to play quite diplomacy between the Iran and other actors such as Israel is there between the Iran and USA. So here India can leverage its potential. Third is the multilateral forum. So there is interaction between India and Iran in SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I2E2 is there. Okay, then BRICS is there. Through indirectly they can, with this organization they can engage with Iran. At the bilateral channel, there is already open for the trade, security, and crisis management. So this is diplomatic importance for India. Next, what are important when it comes to the economical, from perspective of energy security, because historically Iran is the one of the major oil supplier to India. So India imports the oil, gas, okay, and these are the core reason for engagement. And the sanction, that US sanction shifted the supplies, but underlying the energy logic remains. So considering our energy security, we are still engaging with Iran. Second is about the connectivity and trade routes. So the Chabar based trade corridor, so it will help us connecting Afghanistan as well as Central Asia. And there is another corridor called International North South Transport Corridor. So this International North South Transport Corridor, it will help us connect directly Russia. So this is important to reduce our import bill or export bill, particularly import bill, reduce the cost of our products because of traveling, less cost, less spending on the logistic, then also from the securing the supply chain. From that perspective, Iran is also important for the Chabar Port as well as international north-south transport corridor. Also, there are commercial linkage. So India and Iran has the quite significant non-oil trade, that trade in petrochemicals, fertilizers, minerals, carpets, pharmaceuticals, and informal trade. So informal trade flow, nothing but the people-to-people trade and the transport. So that perspective, India is here the relations are very crucial. Next is the potential investment and the project cooperation. Because if you see the after developing the Chabar port, there is opportunity to invest in the infrastructure, the port services, telecom, and downstream industries, and that are on the Chabar port. So that perspective, Iran is also crucial. And also last comes with the cultural and civilizational ties. When it comes to cultural and civilizational ties, we have the shared cultural heritage. So Persian language, literature, the Sufi tradition, the Iran's food culture, it is historically influenced India, especially the North India. So we have the long-lasting relation with Iran. Next, the diaspora and community linkage. There was a historical exchange, particularly if you see Zoroastrian and Parsi community. They now consider India as their home. They came from the Iran. So from there, the Zoroastrian Parsi community, they are connected between India and Iran relations. Also, there is pilgrimage scholarship exchange. Okay, for Shia Muslims, the Iran is a sacred place, and there is significant population of Shia Muslims in India. So from that perspective, it is again the bridge. Also, there is a opportunity for the soft power. So the cultural diplomacy through the language, film, literature, that can help sustain the goodwill and the long-term relations. Okay, but these all the relations are not immune from the challenges. So what are the challenges when it comes to the India and Iran relations? First challenges are related to strategic challenges are and security challenges, particularly US sanction and the extraterritorial pressure. Because the American sanction, mostly the secondary sanction that applied on Iran, that create the payment, banking, insurance hurdle for India. Okay, and these historically forced India to reduce the energy purchase and pipeline projects. Okay, so this is the one more extra challenges here, extra and particularly extraterritorial, where we are reducing out the disturbing the payment, banking, and insurance hurdle. Next is about the nuclear file and the proliferation concern, because Iran's nuclear program that create global tension, and India need to balance non-proliferation commitments with the strategic engagement. So this is one more concern. Third is the proxy conflict and militant group, that we are aware about the Iran's ties with militia and proxy actors across the West Asia region. They support Hezbollah in Lebanon, they support Hamas in Gaza, they support Houthi rebels in Yemen. So this for their support to proxy conflict, it complicates the security cooperation and raise the risk of escalation that can affect the India's interest. Next is about the maritime friction and the broader Gulf instability. So any conflict in Gulf, okay, the example strike on Iran facility, it create the threat to shipping line, and directly it will impact the India's energy security and diaspora safety. So these are the strategic security challenges. Second is about the geopolitical. And when it comes to geopolitical, Iran's relation with India, particularly India, it influenced by its relation with China and Russia, because China's deepening footprint in Iran, particularly economical and strategy, it's seen as a long-term competitor with the India's ambitions, that is the Chabar port, development Chabar port. And Russia's arm and energy ties with Iran, it is the one more factor. So India need to compete with these two dominant players. Also, there is the India and Israel security ties. This is the answer concern because India has a strategic cooperation with Israel and that can irritate the Iran. So India need to manage the optics while the safeguarding the defense interests. So this is the one more challenge. Next is the Pakistan factor because Pakistan's alliance with China and its China's linkage with some Iranian actors, something it produced the triangular tension. So the Pakistan, China, and Iran. So there is the possible axis here, and that might go against the India because the two actors, that is the China and Pakistan, they are traditionally seen as anti-Indian. Okay. Next is the Taliban and Afghanistan. So post US withdrawal in 2021, the Afghanistan creates complex triangles. So India's investment in Afghanistan and the Chabahar port, it is affected by the Iranian policy and Tehran and the Taliban Iran ties. If there is not strategic ties between Taliban and Iran, or there is the conflict, then the investment will affect. So this is the one more challenge. Then when it comes to the economy, there is a challenge. There is a challenge related to payment banking hurdles under the sanction particularly. So there is difficulty in oil payment, the insurance for shipment, and bilateral trade settlement mechanism because of the sanction. Second is about the investment risk and slow project delivery. So the political volatility in West Asia, the fiscal constraint, the sanction deter the private investors, and Chabar timelines have been faced delay and funding issues. So this we are already facing this slow project delivery issue. Next is about the trade contraction during the sanction year. So the formal trade declined when the sanction imposed on Iran. The informal trade, mostly from the smuggling, and that is we don't consider and it is illegal. So that there is effectively trade contraction. Next is about the infrastructure competition. It is particularly between India and China because the China and Pakistan, they are developing this Gwadar port versus Iran and India, they are developing Chabahar port. So the competition produce competing project with different strategic backers. So this is the one more issue involved here. Okay, so what can be the way forward in this particular aspect, because Iran is strategically, geopolitically, diplomatically, and economically is it's a crucial partner for India. So what can be the way forward? First, we need to secure the energy flexibility. They need to maintain the diversified source, continue a limited energy purchase from Iran where possible via the safe payment channel. Okay, particularly rupee ruble. Okay, bilateral payment negotiated arrangements are there. Also need to expand the strategic petroleum reserves in India. So this can be done. Second, need to operational Java post fast because push for the fast track development and ties with Java to the international north-south transport corridor and Afghanistan. So these are the reconstruction plans and it provides the capacity building and concessional financing. Okay, so through this way we can operationalize the project. Then need to develop the sanction resilient mechanism. So this can be done by using the multilateral creative financial mechanism. Okay, mostly, and but need to comply with international laws. Then there need of technical and people to people cooperation that can be done to the expanding cultural engagement, the scholarships, language programs, health education collaboration to sustain the soft power. Next, there is need security dialogue and maritime cooperation. So there we can conduct the regular naval diplomatic channel, okay, to manage the maritime security, particular anti-piracy, safe shipping corridor, okay, and there can be crisis hotline between the established between India and Iran. So this can be done here. Next, there is need of multilateral diplomacy for verification. Need to support the IAEA led verification and de-escalation process to leverage India's experience to promote transparency because already India has faced the verification of the IAEA. So that can be we can help Iran in this regard. Next is strategic balancing. Need to maintain the clear transparency with key partners, be it the USA, other Gulf state, Saudi Arabia is there, UAE is there, and other West Asians such as Israel. So we need to make ensure the transparency about the India's independent engagement with the Iran, and need to emphasize on legitimate development and energy objective. Okay, so this is one aspect we need to focus on. Next is about economic incentive and joint projects. When the India and Iran, the joint ventures, they can do the joint ventures in value-added sectors around the Chabar port, particularly warehousing, agro-processing, to create local stakeholders for the port success. So this way we can connect the people-to-people contact and increase the influence of India in the Iran region. Last one is the crisis contingency planning. So there is need of evacuation plans for the diaspora. Also there is need of energy contingency plan, the insurance support for the shipping, and defense logistic coordination in case of there is volatility in the West Asia or there is disturbance. So these are the way forward where we can focus to improve or maintain India-Iran strategic ties. Okay, and we can, through this we can pursue our strategic autonomy. So this is about today. I wanted to discuss. We have discussed 4 articles that mainly from the men's perspective. Tomorrow we'll meet where we'll discuss the other article, and that from the mostly editorial from the Hindu and Indian Express. Okay. Till then, thank you very much.